All right, let's go ahead and let YouTube do its thing. Think I'm ready. Mic is open. All right, cool. Okay, so I've actually answered this question a number of times before in the past, yet it still seems to come up. So if you come across someone asking this, just go ahead and forward them this video, find one of my old blog posts, or forward them one of my other videos I've done this on. But basically, the question is, I've got a map, I've got some layers. I just need to know when everything's done drawing. When are things done, right? So there's a couple ways you can do it. Um, Let me format this real quick. Okay, there, it makes me feel better. Ah, it was bothering me. I'm telling you. Okay, so a couple of things here. So the view has a method called view.when, right? Well, I'm sorry, it has a method called when. It's an async method that basically is going to kick off when the view is done parsing data or doing whatever it needs to do to be ready to basically, no, it's part of the DOM. It's on the page now, right? So I'll just console.log view ready. So the view itself is like ruined and ready to go, right? But that doesn't mean that the view is ready to be interacted with. It doesn't mean the layers are drawn, doesn't mean the map is drawn or anything like that. You should not do hit tests yet. You shouldn't try to do any kind of interaction, like a mouse pointer or anything just yet, because you won't, things aren't ready to go, right? So in this case here, I've got this data set of hurricane evacuation routes, and this is like from what, 2016, 2017, I believe. But you know, they're way over here. They're over on the East Coast, whereas my map, by default, I'm loading the West Coast. Now, we're just going by saying maybe I don't know where my data is yet. I've just got a map and I'm loading it. So maybe I don't even set the center and zoom. Maybe I just create my map, initialize it, add a layer, and you know, it's up to me to figure out where this layer needs to go. So, okay, so there are a few different ways you can do this. So in this case here, probably what I want to do is instead of doing view.when, I can do layer.when. So layers also have this property as well. So it's going to be layer ready. So now at this point, the layer is loaded. The data should be, you know, we've made requests to get the data and stuff. Doesn't mean it's drawn yet, right? It just means that it's been loaded. Now it's going through the whole process of going to the view. The view is creating the layer views and it's starting to fetch some data and stuff. So it might not actually be drawn at this point. And you can see here at this scale, it doesn't even show up. So it's got some, the item has some zoom, max scale, max zoom properties on it. I think max scale is what we're using now. So it's got some max scale properties on it where I can't see it at this particular scale. But I believe once it's been loaded, I could say something like view dot extent is going to be equal to layer dot full extent. There's a caveat to that though. Let's see if this actually works. Okay, so this works for me. So the layer, so like the extent is not dependent on the data being drawn. The extent is already defined on the layer. So when you create these layers and you publish items in online, when you publish it, it's going to save that extent that you publish the item at, just like with a web map, right? Sometimes you'll come across data that you like maybe uploaded into online and just you upload it, that's it, now you're working with it, right? Those extents are going to be like the world extents because you didn't necessarily define what the extent of the data is, and I don't believe anything in online is going to inspect the data to find out the extent of it, right? And that extent can change if I go and add a bunch of more data to it. I think you need to resave it or something like that to get the extent. I don't know. I'm not an online expert in that case, but I would imagine there needs to be a step there to update the full extent. So this is one way, right? This is like, okay, I just need to get the extent of my data and zoom to it. Awesome, perfect. But maybe I need to actually draw it, right? Maybe I want to do something where I'm going to do some kind of hit test, right? So this was kind of a pain to do, but let's just say that let's do a view dot when, and let's go ahead do like this. So I'm going to go and do a view dot on pointer. Oh my gosh, I can't even spell. One of these days, I'm telling you people. Pointer move. Well, no, it's not do pointer move, because if I do pointer move, I have to create the map point and everything manually, because pointer move is considered like an interactive event, right? What is going on here? Did I hit like a... What the... I almost hit the insert button. Okay, I did. What was I saying? Pointer move. Pointer move is considered an interactive event, meaning that it should be quick and fast. So when you use pointer move, you're not going to get a map point with it. You could create a map point by taking the event XY, which is the screen point, and there's a method on the map called view to map, which create a map point from the screen point. But, you know, it's just like a small, like, micro task to create it. Well, anyway, it's a little bit of work to create. So we don't want to have to create that map point on the whole pointer move, because you're never going to use those map points, right? Necessarily. Maybe. Who knows? You might. I don't know what you're doing. All right, so view.click. So the click is going to return an event that has a map point. All right, so now I've got this map point, and maybe I want to do a hit test, right? So on click, I'll do a view. Let's make this async here. And I forget what the hit test returns. Let's see. Const results is equal to await view dot hit test, not hit, like capital H. Hit test. And I just pass along the actually, I think I can do this. So I get an event, and I pass the event to hit test. Bam, like so. Console.log results. And I'm gonna have to actually open the dev console for that. Alright, so it's, well, I'm getting a pop-up right now. Am I doing that right? Something's high test? View to high test is not a method. Yeah, look at that. Why didn't anybody tell me I did that? Why did this give me an error? Alright, I don't need this console because I got console down here. Okay. Maybe it's better if I do this here. I got more real estate going on. There we go. Oh, I'm taking way too much. Where'd my map go? Alright. Now I'm getting carried away. Okay, so basically I click here. See, I've got my results. So yeah, there's two stuff there. I get a pop-up, of course. Let me do this so that... So I'm starting to click on the map right away. And now I've got stuff. So when I first started clicking, you're going to get the base map. The base map is a vector tile base map. You don't get anything from a vector tile base map other than some information about the layers. So if I go to attributes, blah, 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 you get the layer name and the layer ID you clicked on, right? So that can, we won't talk about vector tile stuff right now, for hit test stuff. But basically, let's say I don't do this. So I started doing my hit test right away, but there's nothing there. Zoom in. Nothing yet. Zoom in. Okay, now I got it, but it wasn't quite ready yet. Right? So one thing you could do is let's put this back in here just like that. So if you want to know when things are actually done drawing, one thing you can do here, let's get rid of the hit test bit here. That was fun, but okay. You can watch for the layer view to be done. So how do I get a layer view? Well, let me make this an async method here. Async everywhere, man. Just async the whole thing, right? Why not? So now what I can do is I can go ahead and say that const layer view is going to be equal to view.when layer view, pass it the layer. Wait, I got to await that because that's a async method. Okay, so I got my layer view. And you might think now, maybe I want to query that layer view for something, right? I want to do a const, let's do this. Query is going to be equal to layer.create query. Oh my gosh. And I don't know, I'm going to say query is equal to query.where is equal to 1 equals 1, right? So now what I'll do is I'll say const what is it? I get a feature setback, so features, not features is equal await layer view dot query features and pass it the query, because I might want to do something with these features. Now I can console.log, make this real big so it pops out of my console. Features, right? Bam. Okay, so layer ready. Bam, bam, bam. Features empty, but there's features there. I know there are. Well, I mean, so one of the reasons we use a layer view for querying stuff is the fact that the data has already been downloaded. It's available in the browser, super fast, you know, because it's all stored in like a small little data store that we have for the layers and stuff, right? So you could query the layer, but then you have to go do a round trip. But we've already done that. We already got data. So then we got those features in there somehow. All right. And let me close this. Let me open regular console. And let's just do features.length. Okay. So how do I know when I can start using this layer view to do any kind of like client-side stuff, right? What you want to do is, and we're going to bring in another helper here, one that I use all the time. We're going to bring in the watch utils. And watch utils comes from, yes, I know I'm repeating that, core watch utils. You can bring in the, sorry, you can bring these in just as regular named exports. So what is it? When false once. All right, so when false once is going to be promise based, so it's asynchronous. Basically, now you're going to say that we want to await when false once the layer view updating property. So you got your layer. You ask some view for the layer view, which is in charge of drawing the layer. Right. Wait, I do this right? Why is it 0? What the hell? Constant.log feature something. When false once. Layer view. Oh. Duh. I gotta do it before I do the query. There we go. Now it should work. And query. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, there we go. 31,593. So basically, when the layer view gets created, it's the layer view that goes and fetches all the data. Once all that data is downloaded and drawn, the updating property is going to be false, right? So we have that little flag that you can watch on the layer views. So this is nice. This is cool. But then I don't have another layer. Oh, man, I should have grabbed another one. Let me just find something here. It doesn't have to be. I'm off screen looking at what am I looking at here? I am looking at Living Atlas here. So okay, so I got another one here. I'm making another layer. Let's do const layer 2. It's going to be equal to new feature layer. And this again, portal item has an ID, like so. Man, that's a lot of typing. Jeez. I hate typing so much. Okay. I hate typing so much, and I took up programming. What do you guys say about that, right? How smart am I? Okay, so now I've got a second layer here, USA Parks. Okay, great. So I know when one layer view is done. So now you have an option. Now I can go ahead and I can say, okay. I can create another layer view. I can, for layer 2, I can do a, like, just to kind of show what that would look like if I had, I want to type this. Oh my gosh. Layer 2 is equal to ... Don't let me type all that stuff. Then what I can do is I can say await promise.all, and I would have 2 instances of this await in here, like that, and like that. And this would be like layer view 2 there. God, I'm just gonna do it. I've already got this far, right? So what am I doing with myself here? Bam, like so. All right, so I've got my layer 2. Where's the problem? Oh, why am I doing that? There we go. Get rid of that too. Come on, people. Can't do that. All right, so now I've got two layers, two layer views. I'm going to wait for both of them to draw before I do my query. Right, so that's one way you can do it. So, but can you imagine if you've got like 8 layers or something inside of your app and your map? You don't want to do this for all 8 layers. So here's a shortcut, and this is so much faster than this, right? So let's go and comment this stuff out. Actually, if I'm going to use this layer view and query, I still want that. But now what I can do, I can just wait for when false once view updating. So now, when the view updating is false, I'll do my query on my layer, and I'm good to go. Because when the view updating property is dependent, and I think it's actually computed property, it is dependent on all the layers updating properties. So when all the layers in the map updating property is false, then the view updating property is going to be false. If even one of the layers is still true and is still fetching data, then the updating property for the view will still be true because it still has stuff happening in the background. When everything's done, you're good to go. So you can ignore all of these when false layer view updating stuff if you just care about when the entire map is done drawing. If you're looking for one specific layer to be done, like you only need that one for whatever reason, then use the layer view. Other than that, just use the view. It's much easier, much simpler to do. So that's what I pretty much tell people to do today. However, sometimes there might be a reason they only care about one layer view to be done because they need to go ahead and I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to query that layer view for some data, and then create a definition expression for another layer based off. I've seen some crazy stuff, people. Don't harass me about this. The code's tiny. I'm sorry, I missed this one. The code is tiny. Okay, here's a question here. So what's the benefit of create query versus passing a plain JS object? Well, so what create query would do, I could do this. I could just say, like, I think this will work. All right, so where 1 equals 1. All right, so I do that, and I believe it's still going to work. Yeah, it still works because under the hood, we're going to convert this object into a query object, right? But this query object now only has where 1 equals 1. If, and I don't know this data well enough, but the data may have a definition expression defined on the layer. When you do, where did I do it? Query equals layer.create query. It's going to copy over that definition expression and any other filters that might be on the layer. That way, when you do your query, it's going to limit it to just what was defined for the layer. Now, if you want to ignore that, you just want to hit everything in the layer, regardless of what the author filtered out, then yeah, you can just create a new query or pass a query object with what you're interested in having the query do. So that's the benefit of create query. It's you're using the data as was intended when it was published, right? If you're not familiar with the data, I recommend just use create query. It's easy, simple to do. I never do new query anymore. And like I said, if you pass just a plain object under the hood, we're going to instantiate that as a new query when you do query features. Yeah, I'm sorry, the code was a little bit small here. Maybe people, I forget that I've got this very large monitor up here, like super 4K thing. Then I forget that my code's sometimes looks a little bit small for people. But yeah, that's the main benefit here. So back to the updating part, I would say just do view updating if you're only interested in when the map itself is done drawing, because maybe you want to take a screenshot or something of it. I've seen people ask about that before. Then you would use view updating. If you care about a single layer and you only care about that layer and you want to do a query on it for the layer view, then do layer view updating. Other than that, you're good to go. So I just want to cover that because this question keeps coming up. Like at least once a week I get the question about this, so I figured to do another video about it. But I know I'll get asked again. It's not a problem. I answer the question. It's no big deal. But I figure the more I talk about it, the more people are gonna see these videos and hear about it. And maybe I get some more questions, different stuff. So yeah, if you got any questions, anything else you want me to cover in these videos, I have a couple questions backlogged that I want to get to at some point down the road. But anything you want me to cover, let me know, and I'll cover them in these YouTube lives. Now I actually want to try and do a more extensive video of building an app from scratch, right? So that'd be probably a handful of videos I would do. So if you have some ideas on the kind of apps you might want me to build from scratch, let me know. I'm also probably gonna use Vue because at this point, you've seen React a dozen times. You could learn React and TypeScript from anywhere else, but maybe I'll do something with Vue to build an app because I think that'd be kind of interesting, right? I won't do Angular, so don't ask me. Yeah, so don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to the video. Drop any questions in the comment section, and again, let me know what kind of app you might want me to build down the road. You can either hit me up on Twitter